Welcome to the segment on basic searching. I have a feeling that this is what you've been waiting for. In this segment, we're going to talk about how to start creating your very first basic Splunk SPL search string. And we'll start by learning what the basic search terms, or as I like to call them, building blocks, are. And they're built on keywords, phrases, fields, wildcards, and booleans. Keywords are just what you would expect: failed, error. Phrases are multiple keywords, and we put phrases in quotes because they have a space in the middle. Fields are key value pairs, so something equals something else. An example of a field would be user equals and then the username. We'll talk about fields in more depth later on in the course. Wildcards are important to understand as well. Using the asterisk, what we are telling Splunk is we don't care what takes the place of that asterisk. So if we use the first wildcard there, asterisk AILED, Splunk will find failed, or perhaps mailed, or anything else that ends in AILED. If we use fail asterisk, then Splunk could return fail, failure, failures, and the same with user. If we use user equals asterisk, that's telling Splunk that we want to pull in every single user. Boolean operators in Splunk are and, or, and not, and they are case sensitive. An example of a Boolean operator in a search string might be if we wanted to find data about two specific users. We might say user equals user1, capital and user equals user2. Then Splunk would only bring us the events that have both of those users in them. Next we have commands. And commands do stuff with the data. Our keywords and fields bring in the data, and then commands do stuff with it. Commands come after a pipe, as we'll see in just a second here. But some of the basic and well-used commands are chart and time chart. This returns results in tabular output for charting, and time chart specifically forces the x-axis of the chart to be time, whereas in chart you define what the x-axis should be. Rename is self-explanatory. Sort is self-explanatory. Stats provides statistics, and often you would use stats to build a statistical tabular table. We can use eval to calculate an expression, dedupe to remove duplicates, and the ever-popular table command builds a table with the specified fields that you specify. So if you do table space field 1 space field 2 space field n, for example. Here is how we construct a basic search. The first thing we do is put in our search terms. These could be metadata, like host, source, or source type, if we know what that is. Or we could use a wildcard, of course. And keywords and booleans, and anything back in the basic search terms slide. Then we use that pipe operator, and that is the key right above your enter key on most US keyboards. And then we can start typing commands. This is how we massage the data. Don't be put off by that pipe operator. All that means to Splunk is take whatever comes before it and then do something with it. So here's a mock search. If we have search terms host equals myhost.local, and as we know, host is a metadata keyword that's automatically assigned in Splunk unless we specify otherwise. And same with source. And then we have user equals asterisk, which means we want to know information about all the users. And we have message equals fail asterisk, which means we are not sure if the message is fail, failure, failed, failures, or something like that. So we're just bringing everything that starts with FAIL. And we're using a Boolean operator there, or, and lock asterisk. So that could be lock, locked, locks, I guess. So we're telling Splunk that we want to know every user, and we want the message to equal something that starts with fail or something that starts with lock. And that's different than and. If we did and, then the message would have to contain both fail and lock. But since we're doing or, the message can contain fail or lock. Next, we're doing some commands. And right at the start there, we can see the popular table command. And then we simply list the fields that we want the table to have, the columns. So we have _time, which is Splunk's default time field. And we'll talk more about time later. We have user, which we've pulled in with that user equals asterisk. So we have pulled in the user field, so it will display something there. And then message, and message will either contain fail or lock. And after the next pipe, we are renaming those fields, because let's say that _time, lowercase user, and lowercase message is not what we want to see. So we're saying rename _time as time with capital T, user as user with a capital U, message as message with a capital M. And then we do another pipe, and we sort by the time field. So pause the video right now, and see if you can come up with what the output of this search string is going to look like. Here is what it will look like. We have 3 fields, 3 columns, time, user, and message. We have a timestamp, we have usernames, and we have the message that either contains fail or lock. Let's take a look at basic searching in our demo. And we've logged into our Splunk search head. And what I want to do right now is add some new data. I want to add the homework dataset CSV file. So I'm going to go to settings, add data, upload, select file, and there it is, homework dataset.csv. It'll upload it, we click next, and we check everything out on the source type. It is a CSV. It's pretty self-explanatory for Splunk, so we're good with that. On input settings, I want to name the host field value homework, and the index can stay at default. Review and submit. And let's go back home and to the search app. And since we specified that the host field value is homework, we can bring up this entire set of data just by using that metadata field. And there it is, 2,000 rows, 2,000 events. And this is bringing in everything. Now, because we are in smart mode, and we'll talk about modes in a different lecture, but because we are in smart mode, Splunk attempts to detect fields for us based on key value pairs. Remember, key value pairs is just like this. Host equals homework. That's a key value pair. Source equals homework data.csv. That's also a key value pair. So Splunk attempts to determine what fields are out there in the data automatically, which is great. And we can get a snapshot and take a quick look at these fields. So for example, domain has 5 different values, or 5 factors. And there they are. So in our mock search, let's say that we want to bring in the domain data. And let's say that we don't care which domain data it is, because we just want to know the name of the domain because we want to use it later. So we'll simply do domain equals asterisk, and let's run that search. And again, 2,000 events, because every single event has that field in it. Let's see what other fields might be interesting to us. We have a type field that has 5 different factors, or 5 different values. Retry, success, lock and fail, and NA. So let's imagine that we want to know about fail and lock, just like in the slide. So let's do a Boolean. And that field was called type. So we'll say type equals fail asterisk, or lock asterisk. Now this should narrow our total events down quite a bit. It cut our number of events more than in half, so we only have 949 now, because we're only looking for events that have this word or this word in them. So what can we do with this data right now? Well, we could create a table that shows the domain and the type. And that would be pretty simple and pretty easy to do. So let's do that with the table command. And remember, for commands, we first do this pipe, and then the command. And then the fields we want. The table command syntax is table space field 1 space field 2 space field n, right? So we want table, domain, and type. Let's see what that gives us. This gives us a nice list of each domain and either fail or lock, but it still doesn't tell us a very good story because we need a timestamp. So recall that the default timestamp field in Splunk is _time, and we can simply add that to our table. So now we have a timestamp, a domain, and a type that's either fail or lock. That still doesn't really tell us everything we need to know. I think we would need to know what user account has failed or is locked. So let's go back to our raw events, and because we've already put a command in here, we actually need to change this to verbose mode. And go back to our raw events, and let's see if there's a user field. There is a user field. It looks like it's USR. And those do look like usernames, so let's bring that in with a wildcard, and then we'll also add it to our table. And it doesn't really matter where you put this. So bringing in all user values, and let's put the user field right before domain. And let's see what that gives us in a table. Okay, this is a much better picture. We have a timestamp, a username, a domain, and whether the account is locked or has failed. In this section, we talked about basic search structure and put together a very basic search in Splunk. And I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to doing some more searching with you in the upcoming sections.